Pokemon, back in the 90s, destroys Palworld. In this video, I'm going to share with you some stories of my childhood and what I experienced when Pokemon began to absolutely explode all over the world. Pokemon is so big because of this time period. Let's share some stories with you. So what made Pokemon so popular? Back in the 90s, us kids used to go to the shop, purchase a pack of Pokemon cards. But it didn't stop there. It wasn't a game that we would play alone. We would take these Pokemon cards onto the school playground and we would trade the cards, we would sell the cards, and we would battle the cards. You heard me correctly. We used to sell these Pokemon cards for money on the playground, our lunch money. And we also used to battle them as well on top of this. It was very lucrative, meaning you could earn a lot of money and get a lot of school dinner money if you had the right Pokemon card, meaning that you could actually earn some decent wage as a child on the playground. It was sick, right? It didn't stop there, because as Pokemon began to explode because of the TV show, so as well as these Pokemon cards, at the exact same time we had the Pokemon TV show, Ash Ketchum and Pikachu were on our TV screens. Everybody could watch it. It was available to you. So not only did you have the Pokemon card trading game where you could actually like trade with your friends and have exciting battles with your friends and earn that money on the playground, but you could also watch it on TV and see Ash Ketchum with Pikachu and other Pokemon that he's catching, which also kept you involved with Pokemon. It was so sick, man, and it didn't stop there. So as we got older, we then had handheld gaming systems. This began to become a thing. We had the Game Boy come out, the Game Boy Advance, the DS later on. I think there's the SD. There was all these different handheld Nintendo gaming systems, and the main game that everybody would buy was Pokemon. Pokemon Fire Red, Pokemon Leaf Green. But here's why. There was a multiplayer system. It was the first time you had a proper multiplayer system that you could take with you anywhere. So if you go into a friend's house and you've got a Game Boy Advance and you've got that connected wire, you could connect the wire into the back of your Game Boy Advance and you could battle with your friend. Or you could trade Pokemon with your friend. This was a little bit later on. This is slightly after primary school for me. So this is as we're getting into high school, where you could actually, no, was it high school? Yeah, Game Boy Advance was high school. Game Boy was more like, I think for me, like year 4, year 5, year 6, something like that. So that's technically when you're leaving elementary school. As I'm getting into high school, that's when the handheld systems began to become a thing. You would then go and get your game, plug your cartridge into your Game Boy Advance or your Game Boy Color or whatever handheld system you had to play your Pokemon game, and you could have those battles at home. This was an absolute huge phenomenon. The TV show plus the card game that was still going is still going today because of the success that it had back on the playground, because that's where it started. That's where Pokemon began to explode. The TV show was accompanying this system that we had, that we created for ourselves with the Pokemon card trading game, that just made it really fun to do. Because if you got a really good shiny card and you had that friend that had a lot of dinner money from his mom, you could be like, yo, do you want this card? I got like shiny. I kept shiny Zapdos until I lost my Pokemon cards. I don't know why that card was such like a thing for me. It's not even called Zapdos. But I'm still, as a child, I used to call this Pokemon Zapdos. That's not the name of the Pokemon. But from like on the playground, I used to be like, hey yo, I ain't giving you my shiny Zapdos. It was a legendary bird. So there's a few legendary bird Pokemon, and that's one of them that I just kept. I was like, I like the look of it. I just like, I'm keeping this card, man. People used to be like, no, I'm gonna trade you. I'm like, nah, you're not. I'm keeping that card, bro. Let's go and play football. Just change the subject. Yo, grab the ball, man. I ain't trading that with you. Like, we're doing something else. It's the one card that I kept, so still can't pronounce it properly to this day. But yeah, as I was on to where was I? So Pokemon began to absolutely explode, and then the Pokemon movies came out a little bit later on, just adding fuel to the fire of how big the phenomenon of Pokemon was and still is. Later on, after childhood, Pokemon continued, and this is where it left a gap in the market for Palworld to come and take advantage. So what do I mean by this? So Pokemon games virtually not the card game that you can purchase from shops or more or less online now, really. You had to be on Nintendo to play these games, meaning that you needed a Nintendo Wii or a Nintendo Wii U or a DS. You needed those Nintendo systems in order to play the virtual Game Boy games of Pokemon, which is where it was transitioning into. There were less people owning Pokemon cards. The Pokemon cards became more rare and a lot more expensive. So that same system of you selling your Pokemon cards or trading them still around today, except it's a lot more lucrative than it was on our playgrounds. So you're not selling for dinner money, you're now selling for the price of a house. So that's basically what Pokemon card trading games became. It's now a rarity to find the original Pokemon cards that were created by the Pokemon company, and now you can pretty much get fairly wealthy if you have the right original Pokemon card. And it all began back in the day on our playgrounds. That's when we got involved with it. That's when the masses got involved with it. That's when they knew that Pokemon was something special. Leading on to the gap in the market that I was just elaborating on. So Palworld is a new game that has came out on the Xbox Microsoft gaming system. I'm not sure if it's on other PC systems because I'm not a PC gamer. Maybe you can add that context in the comment section down below. But there is a gap in the market with Pokemon because Pokemon gaming transitioned onto, as I said, Nintendo platforms, but also on mobile. So you got Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go is a mobile game which you have to actually get physical to play. So you actually have to move around to capture these Pokemon and use your phone camera. That means there are slight limitations in terms of playing that game because you need a phone camera that's very good and you can hold the camera steady, and you also need to move location physically in order to capture these Pokemon. And then if you want a Pokemon battle, you're having to go outdoors somewhere. So that's the reason why they left a gap in the market, because I think the Pokemon company and Nintendo wanted to try something new in terms of the mobile gaming, and that is what I think left a gap in the market. Because if you want to play Pokemon now on a Pokemon gaming system, you're gonna have to get a Nintendo system specifically to play Pokemon, or you're gonna have to be like moving around all day on your Pokemon phone and you're trying to move around, and I can't even capture this Pokemon right now. Flick the Pokeball and you're like, yo. So it left a gap in the market in terms of console gaming, and those people that have built up their gaming systems, it left a gap for somebody else to come in and take advantage of that gap in the market. And Palworld did that. It's a Pokemon style game that people wanted for a fairly long time. They also look quite similar. So I'm not gonna make any remarks here. I'm not gonna go into that territory. You already know. You can look at the game and you can be like, kind of look Pokemon like, kind of acts Pokemon like. Is this copying Pokemon? I'm not gonna say anything, but it kind of does like look like Pokemon, doesn't it? So you're playing Palworld because it feels like Pokemon. That's the main pull of the game. You want to pick up Palworld because you can't play Pokemon. It's kind of like, yo, you know when people make that comparison, that meme of, hey, yo, can I get Pokemon, mom? And then your mom's like, we got Pokemon at home. And then Palworld is that Pokemon at home meme. It's like the discount Pokemon that somebody can actually have access to. And I think that's why Palworld is then elaborating on it, and they're leaning into the meme, and then they're leaning into the success that they're getting because they're taking that gap in the market. Are the Pokemon company bothered about it? Probably hell no, because Pokemon is so huge. It's a worldwide phenomenon. It really is the OG of entertainment and gaming in terms of its genre. Monster catching, pocket monsters, that's what Pokemon stands for. It is the OG. Pokemon is so huge today that it really isn't even scratching them in terms of Palworld. Palworld does not compete, and that is because Palworld, although it's very, very successful, not taking anything away from the success that it has, but it isn't Pokemon. Pokemon has been around for a fairly long time, and it's really not going anywhere around the whole entire globe. And it's because of things like parts of my childhood, which I've just mentioned, accompany it with a TV show, the success that we had with it and the fun that we had with it and everything growing up. Pokemon was a part of our lives. So I just wanted to share that in this vlog. Let me know if you've got a Pokemon story, or if you relate to anything that I'm saying, or are you just a new fan to gaming and Pokemon? Was you not around in the 90s to experience the rise of Pokemon? Because the rise of Pokemon was dope, bro. I'm telling you now. Even in high school, I had a high school friend. He's a G. He's still collecting Pokemon cards now. Man's got a beard and stuff, and he's still got his shiny cards, bro, and he sells them for bank. And I saw him recently on social media, and he's still selling them. He's on it, bro. He collects stuff like that. Like, there's collector's editions of that people collect Pokemon, man. It can be a whole, you can have a whole like living from it, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, just thought I'd share that story with you guys. I had to share this, so it's just a vlog where I'm sharing with you. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Subscribe, thumbs up. Share your stories in the comment section. Let's talk about it. Pokemon, man. Gotta catch them all. Let's go. Thank you for watching.